Namaste, Dandavat Pranam. By the instruction and grace of our spiritual master, Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj, we are here reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Canto 4, The Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 9, Text 23. Svadbhratayutamenaste Mrgayayam tu tanmana Ante Shanti Vanamata Dabhagnim Sa Pravikshati. The Lord continued, sometime in the future, your brother Uttama will go hunting in the forest, and while absorbed in hunting, he will be killed. Your stepmother Suruchi, being maddened upon death of her son, will go to search for him out in the forest, but she will be devoured by a forest fire. Purport. Dhruva Maharaj came to the forest to search out the Supreme Personality of Godhead with a revenging spirit against his stepmother. His stepmother had insulted Dhruva, who was not an ordinary person but a great Vaishnava. An offense at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava is the greatest offense in this world. Because of having insulted Dhruva Maharaj, Suruchi would become mad upon the death of her son and would enter a forest fire, and thus her life would be ended. This was specifically mentioned by the Lord to Dhruva because he was determined for revenge against her. From this, we should take the lesson that we should never try to insult the Vaishnava. Not only should we not insult the Vaishnava, but we should not insult anyone unnecessarily. When Suruchi insulted Dhruva Maharaj, he was a child, just a child. She, of course, did not know that Dhruva was a recognized Vaishnava, a great recognized Vaishnava, and so her offense was committed unknowingly. When one serves a Vaishnava unknowingly, one still gets a good result, and if one unknowingly insults a Vaishnava, one suffers a bad result. If Vaishnava is especially favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, pleasing him or displeasing him directly affects the pleasure and displeasure of the Supreme Lord. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in his 8 stanzas of prayer to the spiritual master, has sung Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasada. By pleasing the spiritual master, who is a pure Vaishnava, one pleases the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But if one displeases the spiritual master, one does not know where he is going. Text 24. Istvamam yagya hridayam yagyai pushkala dakshinai bhuktvache hasisha satya ante mam samsmarisyasi. The Lord continued, I am the heart of all sacrifices. You will be able to perform many great sacrifices and also give great charities. In this way, you will be able to enjoy the blessings of material happiness in this life, and at the time of your death, you will be able to remember me. Purport. The most important factor in this verse is the Lord's instructions regarding how to remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead at the end of life. Ante Narayana Smriti. The result of whatever we do in executing spiritual activities is successful if we can remember Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This program of constant remembrance can be disturbed by many things, but Dhruva Maharaj's life would be so pure, as assured by the Lord himself, that Dhruva would never forget him. And thus, at the time of his death, he would remember the Supreme Lord, and before his death, he would enjoy this material world, not by sense gratification, but by performing great sacrifices. As stated in the Vedas, when one performs great sacrifices, he must give charity, not only to the Brahmanas, but also to the Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras. It is assured here that Dhruva Maharaj would be able to perform such activities, and this Kali would be able to perform such activities. In this age of Kali, however, the great sacrifice is the performance of Sankirtan Yajna. Our Krishna consciousness movement is designed to teach people and to learn ourselves the exact instruction of the personality of Godhead. In this way, we shall continuously perform the Sankirtana Yajna, and continuously chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Then at the end of our lives, we shall certainly be able to remember Krishna, and our program of life will be successful. In this age, distribution of prasad has replaced distribution of money. No one has sufficient money to distribute, but if we distribute Krishna prasad as far as possible, this is more valuable than the distribution of money. Text 25. Tato gantasi matstanam sarvaloka namaskritam uparistad rishibhyastvam yato navarta tegata. The personality of Godhead continued, my dear Dhruva, after your material life in this body, you will go to my planet, which is always offered obeisances by the residents of all other planetary systems. It is situated above the planets of the seven rishis, and having gone there, you will never have to come back again to this material world. Purport. In this verse, the word navartate is very significant. The Lord says you will not come back to this material world, for you will reach matsthanam, my abode. Therefore, Dhruva Loka, or the pole star, is the abode of Lord Vishnu within this material world. Upon it there is an ocean of milk, and within that ocean there is an island known as Svetadweep. It is clearly indicated that this planet is situated above the seven planetary systems of the rishis, and because this planet is Vishnu Loka, it is worshipped by all other planetary systems. It may be questioned here what will happen to the planet known as Dhruva Loka at the time of dissolution of this universe. The answer is simple. Dhruva Loka remains like other Vaikuntha Lokas beyond this universe. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has commented in this connection that the very word Navartate indicates that this planet is eternal. Text 26. Maitreya Uvacha Icharchitasa Bhagavan Ati Disyatmanha Padam Balasya Pasyato Dhamma Swam Agad Garudha Dvaja. The great sage Maitreya said, after being worshipped and honored by the boy Dhruva Maharaj, and after offering him his abode, Lord Vishnu on the back of Garuda returned to his abode as Dhruva Maharaj looked on. Purport. From this verse, it appears that Lord Vishnu awarded Dhruva Maharaj the same abode in which he resides. His abode is described in Bhagavad Gita 15.6, Yad Gatvana Nivartante Tadhamma Paramam Mama. Text 27. Sopi Shankalpajam Vishnu Adhasevo Pasaditam Prapya Sankalpa Nirvanam Nati Pritobhya Gatpuram. Despite having achieved the desired result of his determination by worshipping the lotus feet of the Lord, Dhruva Maharaj was not very pleased. Thus he returned to his home. Purport. By worshipping the lotus feet of the Lord in devotional service, as instructed by Narada Muni, Dhruva Maharaj achieved the desired result. His desire was to get a very exalted position, excelling that of his father, grandfather, and great-grandfather. And although it was a somewhat childish determination, because Dhruva Maharaj was nothing but a small child. Lord Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is so kind and merciful that he fulfilled Dhruva's desire. Dhruva Maharaj wanted a residence more exalted than any other ever occupied by anyone else in his family. Therefore, he was offered the planet in which the Lord personally resides, and his determination was completely satisfied. Still, when Dhruva Maharaj returned home, he was not very much pleased, for although in pure devotional service there is no demand from the Lord, because of his childish nature he had demanded something. Thus, although the Lord also fulfilled his desire, he was not very pleased. Rather, he was ashamed that he had demanded something from the Lord, for he should not have done this. Purport. Um, Next shloka, text 28. Vidura uvacha sudhorlabham yat paramam padam hare maya vinastach charanar chanarjitam labdvapya siddhartam evaikajanmana katam svam atmanam aman yartartavit. Sri Vidura inquired, My dear Brahmana, the abode of the Lord is very difficult to attain, and it can be attained only by pure devotional service, which alone pleases the most affectionate and merciful Lord. Dhruva Maharaj achieved this position even in one life, and he was very wise and conscientious. Why then was he not very pleased? Purport. Saint Vidura's inquiry is very relevant. The word arthavit, which refers to one who knows how to discriminate between reality and unreality, is very significant in this connection. An arthavit is also called Paramahamsa. A Paramahamsa accepts only the active principle of everything. Just as the swan accepts only the milk from a mixture of water and milk, a Paramahamsa accepts only the Supreme Personality of Godhead as his life and soul, neglecting all external material things. Dhruva Maharaj was in this category, and due to his determination, he achieved the result he desired. But still, when he returned home, he was not very pleased. Text 29. Maitreya Uvacha Matu Sapatnya Bhagvanar Pradhividhastu Tansmaran Naichan Mukti Pater Muktim Tasmat Tapam Upeivan. Maitreya answered, Dhruva Maharaj's heart, which was pierced by the arrows of the harsh words of his stepmother, was greatly aggrieved, and thus, when he fixed upon his goal of life, he did not forget her misbehavior. He did not demand actual liberation from this material world, but at the end of his devotional service, when the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared before him, he was simply ashamed of the material demands he had in his mind. Purport. This important verse has been discussed by many stalwart commentators. Why was Dhruva Maharaj not very pleased, even after achieving the goal of life he had desired? A pure devotee is always free from any kind of material desires. In the material world, one's material desires are almost demoniac or demonic. One thinks of others as one's enemies. One thinks of revenge against one's enemies. One aspires to be the topmost leader or topmost person in this material world, and thus one competes with all others. This has been described in Bhagavad Gita, 16th chapter, as asuric. A pure devotee has no demand from the Lord. His only concern is to serve the Lord sincerely and seriously, and he has not at all concerned about what will happen in the future. In the Mukunda Mala Stotra, King Kuliskara, author of the book, states in his prayer, My dear Lord, I don't want any position of sense gratification within this material world. I simply want to engage in your service perpetually. Similarly, Lord Chaitanya in his Shikshastaka also prayed, My Lord, I do not want any amount of material wealth, I do not want any number of materialistic followers, nor do I want any attractive wife to enjoy. The only thing I want is that I may engage life after life in your service. Lord Chaitanya did not pray even for mukti, or liberation. In this verse, Maitreya replied to Vidura, that Dhruva Maharaj, influenced by a revengeful attitude toward his insulting stepmother, did not think of mukti, nor did he know what mukti was. Therefore, he failed to aim for mukti as his goal in life. But a pure devotee also does not want liberation. He is a soul completely surrendered to the Supreme Lord, and he does not demand anything from the Lord. This position was realized by Dhruva Maharaj when he saw that the Supreme Personality of Godhead present personally before him, because he was elevated to the Vasudeva platform. The Vasudeva platform refers to the stage at which material contamination is conspicuous by its absence only, or in other words, where there is no question of the material modes of nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance. And one can therefore see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because on the Vasudeva platform one can see God face to face, the Lord is also called Vasudeva. Dhruva Maharaj's demand for a position so exalted that it was never enjoyed even by Lord Brahma, his great-grandfather, Krishna. Dhruva Maharaj's demand was for a position so exalted that it was never enjoyed even by Lord Brahma, his great-grandfather. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is so affectionate and kind toward his devotee, especially to a devotee like Dhruva Maharaj, who went to render devotional service in the forest alone at the age of only 5 years, that although the motive might be impure, the Lord does not consider the motive. He is concerned with the service. But if a devotee has a particular motive, the Lord directly or indirectly knows it, and therefore he does not leave the devotee's material desires unfulfilled. These are some of the special favors by the Lord to a devotee. Dhruva Maharaj was offered Dhruva Loka, a planet that was never resided upon by any conditioned soul. Even Brahma, although the topmost living creature within this universe, was not allowed to enter the Dhruva Loka. Whenever there is a crisis within this universe, the demigods go to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kshirodakshai Vishnu, and they stand on the beach of the Milk Ocean. So the fulfillment of Dhruva Maharaj's demand, a position more exalted than that of even his great-grandfather Brahma, was offered to him. Here, in this verse, the Lord is described as Mukti Pati, which means one under whose lotus feet there are all kinds of mukti. There are 5 kinds of mukti: Sayuja, Sarupya, Shalokya, Samipya, and Sarshti. Out of these 5 muktis, which can be achieved by any person engaged in devotional service to the Lord, the one which is known as Sayuja is generally demanded by Mayavadi philosophers. They demand to become one with the impersonal Brahman effulgence of the Lord. In the opinion of many scholars, this Sayuja Mukti, although counted among the 5 kinds of Mukti, is not actually Mukti, because from Sayuja Mukti one may again fall down to this material world. This information we have from Srimad Bhagavatam 10.2.32, wherein it is said, Patantyadha, which means they again fall down. The monist philosopher, after executing severe austerity, merges into the impersonal effulgence of the Lord, but the living entity always wants reciprocation in loving affairs. Therefore, although the monist philosopher is elevated to the status of being one with the effulgence of the Lord, because there is no facility for associating with the Lord and rendering service unto him, he again falls into this material world, and his service propensity is satisfied by materialistic welfare activities, like humanitarianism, altruism, and philanthropy. There are many instances of such fall downs, even for great sannyasis in the Mayavad school. Therefore, Vaishnava philosophers do not accept Sayuja Mukti to be within the category of Mukti. According to them, Mukti means transferal to the loving service of the Lord from one's position of serving Maya. Lord Chaitanya also says in this connection that the constitutional position of a living entity is to render service to the Lord. That is real mukti. When one is situated in his original position, giving up artificial positions, he is called mukta, or liberated. In the Bhagavad Gita, this is confirmed. Anyone who engages in rendering transcendental loving service to the Lord is considered to be mukta, or Brahma Bhuta. It is said in Bhagavad Gita that a devotee is considered to be on the Brahma Bhuta platform when he has no material contamination. In the Padma Purana, it is also confirmed mukti means engagement in the service of the Lord. The great sage Maitreya explained that Dhruva Maharaj did not desire, in the beginning, to engage in the service of the Lord, but he wanted an exalted position better than his great grandfathers. This is more or less not service to the Lord, but service to the senses. Even if one gets the position of Brahma, the most exalted position in this material world, he is a conditioned soul. Srila Prabodhananda Saraswati says that if one is elevated to real, pure devotional service, he considers even great demigods like Brahma and Indra to be on an equal level with an insignificant insect. The reason is that an insignificant insect has a desire for sense gratification, and even a great personality like Lord Brahma also wants to dominate this material nature. Sense gratification means domination over material nature. The whole competition between conditioned souls is based upon domination of this material nature. Modern scientists are proud of their knowledge because they are discovering new methods to dominate the laws of material nature. They think that there is the advancement of human civilization. They think that this is the advancement of human civilization. The more they can dominate the material laws, the more advanced they are. Dhruva Maharaj's propensity in the beginning was like that. He wanted to dominate this material world in a greater position than Lord Brahma. Therefore, elsewhere it is described that after the appearance of the Lord, when Dhruva Maharaj thought and compared his determination to his final reward, he realized that he had wanted a few particles of broken glass, but instead had received many diamonds. As soon as he saw that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he saw him face to face, he immediately became conscious of the unimportance of his demand from the Lord to have an exalted position better than Lord Brahma's. When Dhruva Maharaj became situated on the Vasudeva platform due to seeing the Lord face to face, all his material contamination was cleared. Thus he became ashamed of what his demands were and what he had achieved. He was very much ashamed to think that although he had gone to Madhuvana, giving up the kingdom of his father, and he had gotten a spiritual master like Narada Muni, he was still thinking of revenge against his stepmother and wanted to occupy an exalted post within this material world. These were the causes for his moroseness, even after he received all the desired benedictions from the Lord. When when Dhruva Maharaj factually saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no question of a revengeful attitude towards his stepmother, nor any aspiration to lord it over the material world. But the Supreme Personality is so kind that he knew Dhruva Maharaj wanted these. Speaking before Dhruva Maharaj, he used the word Vedham, because when Dhruva Maharaj demanded material benefits, the Lord was present within his heart, and so knew everything. The Lord always knows everything a man is thinking. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita also. Vedham Samati Tani. The Lord fulfilled all Dhruva Maharaj's desires. His revengeful attitude towards his stepmother and stepbrother was satisfied. His desire for a more exalted position than that of his great grandfather was also fulfilled, and at the same time, his eternal position in Dhruva Loka was fixed. Although Dhruva Maharaj's achievement of an eternal planet was not conceived of him, Krishna thought, what will Dhruva do with an exalted position within this material world? Therefore, he gave Dhruva the opportunity to rule this material world for 36,000 years with unchangeable senses, and the chance to perform many great sacrifices and thus become the most reputed king within this material world. And after finishing with all this material enjoyment, Dhruva would be promoted to the spiritual world, which includes the Dhruva Loka. And thus ends our reading for today. We'll continue from text 30 on Friday. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Jai Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Guru Dev, Srila Acharya Dev, Srila Shanta Maharaj ki Jai. Jai Rupanuga Guru Varga ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees ki Jai. All glories to the worldwide devotees ki Jai. Sama Bhaktivedanta Vrinda ki Jai. Jai Navadvip Dham ki Jai. Nishingapali Dham ki Jai. Mayapur Dham ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham ki Jai. Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ju ki Jai. Ganga Mayi Yamuna Mayi ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham ki Jai. Giri Govardhan Gupti Govardhan Dham ki Jai. Sham Kund Radhakund ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Vrinda Devi ki Jai. Jai Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Jai Harinam Sankirtan Yagi ki Jai. Scientific Sankirtan Yagi ki Jai. Princeton Bhaktivedanta Institute ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Institute ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki Jai. Nitai Gaura Premanandi Hari 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 Bol. Dandavat Pranam.